Welcome back to Briggs on Books, where we've been talking to authors all over the world today, from India to New York, L.A., and our next guest coming up is in the Bay Area in Petaluma, I think. I am the guy in our crowd who always has to keep people inspired and pumped up and helping them achieve their next goal and stuff like that. But a guy like me I need to charging up too, and I need reminders of how to stay focused and what direction to go into. And this next guest, I think, is just a guy that I need in my life right now. Shawn Langwell. He's an author, a speaker, a coach, and I'm going to pop your book cover up. Tell us a little bit about it, Shawn.
Which one are we going to do? Because I sent you two. There's two that came out in the last year. Do you want to talk about 10 Seconds of Boldness, the Workbook first? Or...
That's the one I have on the screen.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So the Workbook, you had me on the show right after I published the original book, I don't know, sometime in 2022. And I had planned on having a workbook to go with it because it's a tome. It's 3 decades of experience in the business world condensed into, 400-page book. The workbook is very interactive. It's easy. It's user-friendly. The nutshell is it's a practical guide to do the same things you were just talking about, Mike, which is, setting goals and finding a simple plan to do that. And I created something that's not original per se, but how I compile it is really a 5-step methodology. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we get started.
Are you surprised to hear that someone like me seeks refreshers myself? Do you seek refreshers or inspirations?
I do, and you know what? I appreciate it because I'm like, is he just saying this so it sounds good on camera? And it's like, no, I forget that there are people in various positions at high levels or mid levels or any level that need that little bit of inspiration and encouragement, and myself included. I'm always, watching podcasts or listening to podcasts and watching videos and trying to take some training every year. I budget about $3,000 to $5,000 a year for my own personal development because it's important to me.
Yeah. I can't afford $3,000 to $5,000 a year, but hopefully I can afford your book, 10 Seconds of Boldness Workbook. What was the name of the original book? Sorry, I don't have that cover here, but tell us about the original book.
The original book is it's straight up 10 Seconds of Boldness. It is, I changed the subtitle, but it was basically a guide to solving problems and building self-confidence. So those two issues. Solving problems can be anything from a business sense, a mental sense, or a goal-setting sense. So some people hate that word problem, but I put it in there for a very specific reason because we all have problems that we want to solve. Whether we're willing to admit them or not is a different story.
I've been looking for other words, too, for problem. I'm telling people, these are the problems I'm working on in my business. And they go, he has so many problems. I don't know, call them cases or issues or whatever you need to call them. Now, I'm glad the workbook came out. I like a workbook. Like you say, you'll spend, a few thousand a year on your self-growth. And for me, I think this workbook could be the thing I would work through. Is it a daily thing, a weekly thing?
It's at your pace. And what I'm doing, when I wrote this, I had a 3-step process because I've got, 3 decades of sales and marketing and advertising experience. I'm like, what can I do to kind of get the nuts and bolts down and then build from there? So the workbook is step 1, and I'm finalizing my very first teaching event that is based on material in this book. There's a chapter 6 called Bridging the Confidence Gap. Mm-hmm. So I'm distilling down into a 1-day event on the 27th of January, a teaching that's going to be affordable to do just that. So to answer your question, Mike, you can use it at your own pace. There's fill in the blanks. There's a PDF online. If you don't want to spend the $20, you can get the PDF version for $10 on my website, which I just loaded yesterday.
I think you sent me that PDF. I have it. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, the teaching event, do you have to be where you are to attend that?
No, it's going to be virtual.
Oh,
I just like you, I found out too during the pandemic that it's real nice to be able to reach people from all over the world. And I've done lots of different speaking events for other organizations where I'm having a conversation at this time, and there's people dialed in from, Saudi Arabia to UK to Hawaii, all over the world. And it's like, we don't need to. I want this to be available to as many people wherever they can tune in.
So something good came out of COVID. We had this new way to communicate through Zoom, and we're all used to it. We all had to learn how to do it. So I'm glad we did. Let me ask you this, and I put you on the spot. We weren't even going to talk about this stuff, but I know I always need growth. I need refocusing, and you say you do it every year. You actually budget for it. So many people, I think, could really use your book or gain and grow from it. They don't even know that they need to do this. I don't know how you convince people that they need to refocus or set goals or be goal oriented.
It's a good question. I had an off the cuff coaching / conversation with a friend of mine from Toastmasters who's been doing training for probably as long as I've been doing sales and marketing. And he said, Shawn, when you're doing this, he's now a coach. He's making $250,000 a year doing laser and executive coaching. And he says, one of the things from a marketing perspective is people aren't always going to cough up what they need, even if they know they need it.
Yeah.
What they start with is what they want. And that, for your listeners, for you, for me, I need to remind myself of that, because the marketing aspect and the actual invitation has to start with something that people want. And there's an art to that. There's also a science, and I still am in the progress. It's all a work in progress. I'm fine tuning how I go about doing that, because you can't just run up to somebody and say, "Looks like you need a shave, dude," because that doesn't go very far, right?
Yeah. I've had people come to me and say, "I want your business, and your website's so horrible, I'm going to fix it for you." Well, I never use that guy, so it's an interesting approach. Now, I had an idea, and I said this before Christmas 1,000 times, but I just had an idea. I'm going to say it again, is that I am always having to give gifts to people, and this would be a good book, the book and the workbook, to give as a gift. I'm always going to a party and you want to take the host something. I told people during Christmas, buy 10 copies of this such and such a book and give them out for Christmas. What a good idea. If you know somebody, if our viewers know somebody who really could use a little pick-me-up and they don't even realize they need it, give them this book. It would be a good gift. Now, does one need to start with the original book, then go to the workbook, or can they start with the workbook?
No, I'm glad you asked that, because I grappled with, do I want the workbook just to be a workbook on its own without, and force the buy for somebody to have to go through 10 seconds of boldness. And I made a conscious decision to pull out most of the personal stories that are there to add color commentary and to help, support a point in the actual book of 10 seconds of boldness. And I took a handful and incorporated them into here. So the short answer is no, this is a standalone. There's enough in here to give you a feel for what the chapter is about. It is progressive. It follows a simple 5-step formula that I call, Shawn's basic, 5-step method for solving problems, overcoming challenges, whatever adjective you want to put in there. But at the end of the day, it's about helping people begin to believe in themselves, that they can accomplish things that they haven't been able to yet. And a lot of that comes down to little things that I have stapled to my bulletin board over here. It's getting started and then finishing what you start. So many people at this time of the year have grand plans and ambitions and ideas of what they want to do, whether it's lose weight, get a new job, make more money, whatever, travel. But they start and they don't follow through because life gets in the way. And that's what this book will help listeners and viewers solve, is it'll give you the encouragement and inspiration you need to keep moving forward.
So your book will go beyond helping people in business and marketing and goal setting, but actually as far as personal goals like weight loss or exercise or things like that?
Absolutely. It's a Swiss Army knife, and that was the hardest part to do, is do I want this to be just focused on a super tight niche in a business sense, which I could do, or do I want to open it up a little bit more for some fundamental values and principles and patterns that people can use to apply to whatever it is that they want to accomplish. It's not always about problems. It's about opportunities and most people, the reason they don't follow through with stuff is they don't always have a plan. And then, quite honestly, most people, they're afraid of failure, but they're also afraid of success. And they get in the way and start sabotaging or second guessing what they're doing. And I raise my hand. I'm included in that audience. Yeah. The irony is, why writing this book, I put it on the back shelf, the original book, I put it on the back shelf for a year because I'm writing a book that was going to be about goal setting.
Yeah.
and I wasn't hitting my goals at work.
Yeah.
I'm a sales guy, and I'm like, how can I do this?
You caught yourself in your own philosophy. That's nice. That's good.
Yeah, so it's an ultimate accountability tool without having to have somebody nag in your ear. We get to nag enough in our own ears, right?
Let me ask you about a habit I have. I haven't studied it like you have, but I am always telling people my goals. Like, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm going to do this week. It drives my wife and other people around me crazy. But is it important to let people know what you're trying to do?
I think the most important thing, and I talk about that, it's one of the steps and a prompt in this workbook as well as the main book, is it's a personal choice. I think the biggest separator for those who accomplish their goals and don't, and research backs this up, is the mere fact of having an idea of what it is that you want to do, put together a thumbnail plan, but not just thinking about it, actually putting pen to paper, not just a Word document. Take pen to paper and write it down old school style. You can turn it into a digital file later, but there's psychological and neuroscientific evidence that supports the fact that that physical, tangible action of taking pen to paper makes it stick and it makes it legitimate, and you're much more inclined to want to follow through with whatever it is.
That mechanical thing of writing it out.
Yeah,
Somehow
and
seeps it
telling
into
other
your
people
brain.
about it though, Mike, I think it's good to be accountable. You can kind of short circuit your own potential for success if you're not going to follow through, because now you're putting additional pressure on yourself that you told somebody you're going to do something, and if you fall short. So there's two schools of thought. That's a tightrope you get to walk. You're going to commit to something, but if you don't follow through, does that mean you're a failure and it's going to build this negative self-talk that you already have or may already have going on? I've learned to not tell everybody what I'm going to do. I just go do it. There's some things that I articulate because I want to commit to myself, but I usually spend some time thinking about what it is that I'm going to do before I open my mouth, because you run the risk of other people stealing your dream and saying you could never do that if you open your mouth.
Yeah, I've seen that be the biggest impediment to people. Is people say, "Oh, you can't do that." Here's my other thought: is that reasonable goals. Like, people say, "Well, if you're all about goals, Mike, why don't you set a goal to make $1 million more next week? Why are you only setting a goal to make $1,000 more?" What about reasonable goals?
Well, you know the old. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's out there. It's been there for a while. But the acronym SMART for goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based, time-sensitive, timely, whatever you want to use for that T. That's a simple 5-step process. The realistic part in there, reality is, the trippy thing about reality is it's really whatever we truly believe in our heart of heart or our guts. And physical reality is a catch-22, Mike, because some people think, oh, I could never do that. But if you look at the people who are most successful, they have taken a chance to push forward and do stuff even when they didn't know 100% with certainty that they were going to accomplish it.
Right.
And that's part of the nature of this risky thing that we call goal setting or personal growth or development. You most likely will fail, and you are going to fail the first time you try anything new. That's just human nature.
Well, here's another thought is, I fail all the time because I set these goals that are tough. And these people who set no goals, they're not failing. They never fail. And so I say, I'm going to make $1,000 more next week. I only make $900. Well, I fell short, but I'm so much further than the guy who set no goals at all. So I don't mind failing like that.
No, and it's the Wayne Gretzky quote that everybody's heard about. You made 100% of the shots you never took, and that's what that mindset gets you. Fear of taking a chance on ourselves is not going to produce any real positive benefit to you other than keeping you in a place of homeostasis, of balance, of a comfort zone. Anything and everything that is extraordinary requires that you have to stretch yourself a little bit. And my goal, what I like to do, I just wrote down something. I'll share it on air here, because it's a stretch for me. You know, I make a reasonable amount of income from my day job, but my goal over the next 2 to 5 is to really replace my day job income with what we're doing here. And I have a tendency to go, oh, can I do that? To go back to your point, I shared this with my wife. I always wanted to make $1 million. I haven't made that in a year yet. She's like, why don't you start small? Okay. Why don't you sell $100 a month in books before you get to 5,000? Why don't you sell 200 and 300 and 4 or 5 up to 1,000? And get around people. That's one of the things, steps in this book is association. Get around people who have what you want and figure out what the heck they did to get it.
Wow.
That increases your likelihood of success even more. It's just this stair step thing. My goal that I wrote down, because I do this every year, and I'll share it right now, is what's your number? What is the number you need to not only make ends meet, but to have some semblance of a comfort in your life based on your current lifestyle and your ambitions, whether they include travel, second homes, or giving back to society? And that number for me happens to be $15,000 to $25,000 a month. I'm not there yet. I'm damn close, but I'm not there yet for my day job. The goal is to find that income and replace it from everything outside of my day job, because the next level there is I get freedom when I hit that number. And that drives me to move forward.
Right.
So you start building it a little bit here.
What's your number?
$1,000 extra a month, right?
What's your number? That's what people need to think about. Now, I know we're over time. I could talk to you for hours, Shawn. I ask this to every author. Maybe we've already answered it, but every author gets this question. Who needs your book?
The people who need my book are the people who want here's the easiest way to do it. The people who are sick and tired of being in the same place every single day, and that place, based on statistics, is broke or deep in debt. The stats out there, and I'm not trying to be all negative or anything, but if you're sick and tired of living paycheck to paycheck, and the stats say that most of us are only 2 to 3 paychecks away from being broke, then you're going to need to dig a little deeper and find something that motivates you and inspires you to want to do more. Is it possible? Absolutely. People do this all day long. And my greatest motivator is to watch people who come over here from other countries with a dream and a dream to become business owners. And I watch what they do, watch their work ethic, and I watch them put in the time and energy it takes to become legitimate, bona fide U.S. citizens and business owners. Those people are the ones that owns the gas stations, the convenience stores, the dry cleaners. They are successful.
Yeah.
Us as Americans have a tendency to become complacent because it is a little easier. And that's not a slam on anybody. So, what was the original question again? What do you want?
Who needs your book? Yeah.
The people that need the easy answer is everybody who wants to get ahead.
Yeah.
But the real answer is people who are at a place where they're ready to make some changes.
They're dissatisfied where they are and want to be somewhere else. So,
yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you again. We're past time, but will you go talk to a company and say, company wants you to come in and talk to their workforce? Do you do stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've done it for a local chamber of commerce, and that's the next phase of me going out and talking to sales teams or organizations. And it doesn't have to be all sales related, Mike. If there's people listening into your show or watching your show right now that are business owners, I can do it remotely anywhere in the country. If it's in California and the price is right, I'm willing to, either jump on a plane or drive down to wherever it may be. But the project management and time management and goal setting skills that I've acquired being in the corporate arena for the last 3 decades have served me very well. And I'm at a place now where I want to be able to share those, not for my own ego, but to help organizations thrive. There's a whole wave of new folks coming on who are going to replace the current leadership, and organizations need something that helps inspire and moves things in a different direction if a company's feeling a little bit stagnant.
Yeah. Well, any company could use that once a year, just a shot, the pump up, the new thought direction, and like that. Shawn, we've gone way over time. Any last thoughts for our viewers?
No, just, if you want to keep tabs on what I've got going on, which is a lot, look me up at shawnlangwell.com. And outside of that, I started a new podcast. I've got another book that's in the works. I've started this class that will be available probably in the next week or so that you can register for. And Mike, thanks for having me on the show.
It's my pleasure. I'm pumped up just talking to you, Shawn. We have your web address on the screen. Can they find out about the podcast there?
Yeah, they can do that. And just if you do a search by first and last name, the stuff that you need to find out that I've done already, including your previous show, pop up pretty quickly.
Very good. Shawn Langwell, I really, really appreciate your time. I believe in what you're doing. Like I said, you seek help every year. I seek help every year. We all need to keep focusing and figure out how to set our goals and accomplish our dreams. We'll be back with more authors right after this.
Thanks, Mike.